Hey, it's Joey with Created in Awe here. Today I'm showing you the Craft Club kit for January 2026. I am going to cut over and use the audio from the live video that we did on my page. There are tons of details about how to use the product, specifically the scorch paste that's in the kit. So you may need to take some notes just so you know what to expect from it. There's a couple of options I'm going to tell you about, and then I'll show you at the end how I finished it up.
Let me show you the stencil first on this kit. The name of it is You Had Me, which it's not exactly what you're thinking. Let me get this opened up so you can see the whole thing. I have to make it harder on myself. I don't like the sticky flap. It gets in the way and it sticks to things, so I slice it open. Okay, You Had Me at Homemade. Okay, so pretty. The details on this design, so pretty. It's a 5x7. It fits perfectly on the cutting board surface that you get in the kit. So this is actually, I think, a 6x8 size cutting board, 3/8 of an inch thick. It's very lightweight wood, and it works really well with the torch paste. It's a raw wood. You can paint it afterward if you want to, paint it for other projects. You can stencil on it with our pastes if you want to. You can do lots of different things. You can decoupage on it, whatever you want to do. And they do have these available on the website separately. They also have the stencil separate, and you can order scorch paste. So if you do want to make this project, you don't have to join Craft Club, but if you were to do that, you'll get all of this in one box with a packet of the scorch paste to try out, and it's a much lower cost than buying everything individually. So that's one of the main benefits, that and the extra 10% off of getting the craft kit. You also get a squeegee. I won't need to use this one because I have about 100 others. So I'll set that aside. And you get printed step-by-step instructions that show you picture form and written. And then the QR code down there on the bottom, it takes you over to the real quick little video that Magnolia puts on YouTube. This gives you really detailed step-by-step instructions, and I'm going to walk you through how I'm going to do mine today. So, like I said, I already opened this scorch paste. That's why it's in a Ziploc baggie. You can do the same thing with yours if you have any left over from doing this project. Save it in a Ziploc baggie, and you can use what's left somewhere else. A couple of hot tips for how to use the scorch paste. First of all, you don't only use it on wood. You can use it on fabric. Basically, you're going to use it on a raw surface that can be burned, that can handle heat, high temperatures of heat. And I have two ways I'm going to show you how to do this. But you will need, if it's a wood surface, it has to be raw wood. You cannot do it on a painted wood surface. You cannot do it on a stained wood surface. It can't even be clear polyurethane sealed. Nothing on the wood. It has to be raw because you want it to burn into the surface. Otherwise, it's going to somehow affect that finish that's been put onto the wood rather than the wood itself. However, your wood has a texture. So sometimes even you're getting plank surfaces from like Walmart or Hobby Lobby that have an uneven wood texture to them. You're going to need to sand it as smooth as possible so that your stencil can have a nice flat attachment to the surface, and your scorch paste doesn't go into the little nooks and crannies and bleed out. So you really want a smooth surface. Okay, now one thing you want to check with our sticky stencils is how hard it sticks to your surface. You don't want it pulling apart the surface of the wood, like peeling off pieces of it, sticking so hard that it stretches your stencil. So I am just going to peel just the corner. Oh, it doesn't feel, well, it feels sticky, but not super duper sticky. I'm just going to test this out. I'm going to press it down really, really well, just like I normally do my stencils. And then I'm going to lift. That wasn't too hard, but I think it'll be fine. If it was really hard to pull off, then I would worry it would stretch or stick down to the surface and pull the wood pieces apart, but it's not going to. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off my backer sheet and line it up where I want it to be. Now you'll notice You know, this is a 6x8 surface, so my stencil's a little bit smaller. I can move it around. If I'm going to be adding a bow to the top and I want to move it down toward the bottom edge, I might do that. I am going to move it down a little bit, not all the way. I am going to put a bow up here, but I think I have plenty of room with it just kind of brought down a little bit. I do need to center it. Well, actually, it looks pretty centered. So now that I have it in place, I'm going to start smoothing it out from the center out. I want to make sure any air bubbles are removed. And if you don't know for sure that if you have it pushed down all the way, you can use your squeegee. And I like to use the handle edge of it, which is the thicker part, and just go over it, pressing down, moving from the center toward the outside edge, and that gets any extra air bubbles out, and it also makes sure it's stuck down and you haven't missed any. So I am just going to start, and I can put it over here in the green part of my stencil, or I can put it on straight onto my squeegee. I'm just going to put it right here on my stencil. Okay, just a little more than a pea-sized dollop is what I'm going to start with. I'm going to save my backer sheet so I can wash and reuse my stencil. So I am going to start dragging this across. I'm not going to press really hard. Okay, it's for me, it's, oh, that's not going very far. So I am definitely going to need more. So let's go ahead and put quite a bit more on there and lightly drag. Now I do have a fan going, so I don't want to take too much time with this process, but I'm putting a fairly thick layer just to start with, kind of on this top half. Now I'm going to give some more pressure and drag it. So I'm going to press down and drag, and you can see how I've removed that middle section, and it's pressed it down through the mesh layer of the stencil. So I'm going to do that to all of these areas that I've already applied my scorch paste. Now I have a lot on here, so I'm going to go down here to the bottom half and start applying this excess that I picked up with my squeegee. There we go. So now I have the bottom half has a thick layer, and I'm going to go ahead and press. Okay, and I want to make sure that I've gotten everything covered. I can go over this a couple of times if I want to, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, want all of the detailed lines to have that scorch paste go through it. Okay, now I have excess. Can't put it back in my packet. If I had a jar of it, I could. So here's what I'm going to do. Put that in a safe place. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off my squeegee onto a paper towel. I'll clean my squeegee later, but I just want to get that off of there. And I'm going to put this scorch paste back in my Ziploc baggie. I do have about half a packet left, and I can use it on another project. All right, we're going to go ahead and remove the stencil while the scorch paste is wet. Grab a hold of it and peel it up. Okay, I can see the design. It's a little bit yellow. You can kind of see it there. So what we do is we give it about 5 minutes to dry. It doesn't have to be completely dry, but it needs to be mostly dry. And I'm going to go ahead and wash my stencil. It's the same process that I use with paste and ink. I'm going to put my stencil sticky side up in water. Ideally, you're taking this to your kitchen sink and washing it there, not here in a tub of water. It's a lot easier. So I take my stencil and I push it down and I kind of scrub it against the bottom of my tub or my sink. It helps to release some of the paste that's on there. And then I'm going to flip it over to the top side. This is where we put the scorch paste. It's not the sticky side of the stencil, it's the outside, the top. And I have my stencil cleaner. You can probably use a soft sponge if you want to, or your hands. I just save myself a little bit of time and I go ahead and get into the mesh layer of the stencil with our stencil cleaner. Okay, and I go over it a few times. It feels like I have removed most of it. I'm going to flip it over. Let me take this out of the water. And I'm going to now go over the back of it with just my hands. Okay, don't use the stencil cleaner on the back. You don't want to scrape the back of it. You might remove some of the sticky that you want to stay on the back of your stencil. Okay, so I've gone over the back of it. If there was any residue from the wood or from, you know, anything else, it's now cleaned off. And I'm going to grab my tacky towel here. Our tacky towel is intended on the front to add fuzz to your stencil if it is sticking really hard to your surface. This one didn't. The back side is gray, and it's meant to help you dry your stencil and sometimes clean it. So let me move my water tub back over here. This is giving my cutting board a few minutes to dry. And I am going to, there is some stuff stuck on my towel, so I'm trying to be careful not to get it on the sticky side. But I'm going to go ahead and press this into my microfiber side, and I'm going to lift it up, and I'm also going to press it in on the front side. The front side has that mesh layer, which is fabric, which holds on to moisture, so I really want to get it as dry as possible. And I'm going to leave this sitting sticky side up over here to the side to continue drying. Let's check. It's still a little bit shiny. You know, I just turn it to, I'm not going to touch it, I'm just going to turn it, and I can see some shine, which means it's still a little bit wet. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, and I want to talk to you about two different heat options that I have tried. Actually, I've tried three. Okay, so the first one I tried was my standard Magnolia heat gun. Now, this is an old one. This was one that came out, what, like 3 or 4 years ago when they first introduced it, and it's a lower temperature heat gun. It's not super hot. You turn it on, and I can hold it against my hand, not like right up against it, but this isn't too hot for my hand. That means it's a low temp heat gun. I can keep it going. It's getting warmer, but I can still keep it next to my hand. This is not hot enough to use on the scorch paste. You need a high temp heat gun. The newer Magnolia heat gun is a higher temperature, and it should be hot enough to use on the scorch paste. Since mine is not, I got out my old embossing gun. This one gets a lot hotter and it will work better. There's a second method that I've tested out that worked for me, and that was my craft iron over a piece of parchment paper. So we're going to try both. I'm going to do like half and half on this and see how it works. So now, if you are using a high temp heat gun, like you can get those on Amazon, you can get them at your hardware store, the ones that get up to like over 1,000 degrees, please be careful of the surface you're using and your hands if they're anywhere near your project. If you worry that that temperature is going to damage your wood, take this outside, not your wood, but your surface. Take this outside to the concrete, to your driveway, your garage floor, something like that, and do it there. This doesn't get quite that hot, so I think I'm going to be okay. But also keep your hands back. Don't put your hand, don't try to hold your surface while you're heating it if you're using something high temperature. I see a couple of spots that are a little bit shiny, and that's okay. Doesn't have to be 100% dry, but you want to give it a few minutes. All right. Now, if you're using the heat source, now this is going to be kind of loud, you're going to hover over very close to your surface. Now, I would not put it right up against your surface, because then you're going to actually scorch the wood just naturally with the heat. You want to just be heating the scorch paste, if at all possible. So I'm going to turn this on, and we're going to start. This is kind of loud. And you can see already I'm just moving across, and it is burning that scorch paste. It is also burning the wood. Okay. I'm going to keep this moving so it's not in any one spot, so it doesn't scorch the wood outside of the design. I'm going to keep going over this to make sure it's burning down into the wood and not just the paste on top of the surface. But you can see, I don't know if you can hear me over this thing, but you can see all of those fine details of the design coming through, okay? Now, before I finish the whole thing, I want to show you what's going to happen if I do an iron. Now, my iron is set at its hottest temperature, which really only gets to about 325 degrees. But because it is in full contact, almost full contact with your surface, it's going to be hot enough. I'm going to put my parchment paper over the top, which I like that I can see through my parchment paper. Not wax paper, not a Teflon sheet, parchment paper. And I am not going to press and hold this on there. I'm just going to do it for a second or two. And some people like to just hover over the top. I'm going to actually go ahead and put this onto the surface. And I mean, that was like 2 seconds. And it has started, it hasn't fully burned, but it has started to burn. Okay. Okay, let me go one more time. This is all in the same spot. All right, I think I've got it. So that was probably about 6 to 8 seconds total. So this section right here had the iron, and so it looks the same. It looks the same. I think it's cool. You don't have to use the heat, the high temperature heat gun. You can use your craft iron. Make sure there's no water in it, no steam setting. Just set it on there for just a few seconds and then check it. That didn't get the full heat. I'm going to go back over it. Okay. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that did not scorch in. There might be a spot over here that didn't. Not sure. Okay, it looks like it did fine. Okay, everything is heated in. It is fully set. You can call your project done. There is no nothing else that you have to do to this. You can leave it just like that for decorative purposes. Now, if you were doing scorch paste on a surface that you want to be food safe, then you need to clean some of this charred residue off. You can lightly sand it. Don't sand real deep because you didn't burn it really deep into the wood. It's still somewhat just the surface layer. What I would like to do is just go over it a little bit with a paper towel, and you can see a little bit of that charred residue comes off. That basically what's coming off is the paste itself that got charred. Okay. All right.
Here it is, just as we finished with the scorch paste and wiping off the excess, and you can leave it just like this. But I thought I'd show you how I finished mine up. I used some dark wax over the whole front of it and the sides and edges and added a rag bow, and that's it. I'm going to leave it just like this. If you want to see that process, the live video is still on my page, and I will put a link to it in the comments. So thanks so much for watching Created in Awe. Craft Club information is also in the comments, and I hope you have a great day.